You got all the toys.
I know. Well, you did the card last month.
Okay, you got all the toys and you do the cards.
I know. Well, okay. Well, I thought props would be fun. That's all. You're dressed up though, and I just look like nothing.
Wait, do I let them in?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I gotta admit all. Here they come.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Halloween edition of Spirit Chat. I am Medium Mari, here with my beautiful co-host, Winter Brook. Now, I do not have a cool costume like Winter does, but I prepared this little mask, but I didn't want to put it on because you wouldn't be able to hear me, but check it out. Ooh, isn't that cool? Anyway. This is from Venice, and it's very cool. It's really more decorative, but I thought it would be a fun thing to wear. But unfortunately, you can't hear me talk, so I can't wear it during the show. So happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on the Halloween edition of Spirit Chat. So glad to have everybody here. We were going to talk today about all different ways that you can divine things like the pendulum, tea leaves, flower reading, and Winter was going to talk a little bit about the Ouija board and the origins of that. And of course, we're going to do some reading. So thank you so much, everybody who's joining us on the Zoom and everybody that's joining us on Facebook land. We will try to keep up with those messages. And again, if you missed the very beginning, my name is Mari Cartagenova, known as Medium Mari because that last name is a mouthful. And I'm a psychic medium and animal communicator. Also help to find lost pets with the help of spirit, and happy to be here on Spirit Chat. So welcome, welcome. And Winter, let's say hello and talk to our friends in the audience.
Hi, everybody. I'm Winter Brooks, psychic medium. I am a mental medium, which means I bring through messages from your loved ones and other discarnates, the proper terminology, from the other side. I am a trance medium, which means I go into a deeper altered state than what is used for mental mediumship. And I channel from loved ones or entities and higher beings. And I'm also developing physical medium. I do a lot of transfiguration where we sit in a dark room. I'm in a cabinet. There's low light, and your loved ones' faces come through pretty clearly and get caught on film. Ooh. So I also do animal communication with Mari. She's getting to play with all the toys. She said, oh, let's dress up last minute. I happen to have a costume because I'm going to do Safe Trick or Treat on Main Street in Northport Village for any of my local peeps here today. Halloween 1 to 4. It's a great opportunity for the children to go up and down Main Street. Parents usually dress up too into the participating business owners' shops, including my office. So I dress up non-scary for the little ones, and I hand out 15 pounds of candy. Actually, I invite some of my senior tenants, and they have a blast. They sit in the office and they hand out the candy too and see all the little ones. So I'm excited about spooky Halloween edition of Mari and me. And she's right. To this day, I can't pronounce her last name. So thank God she goes as
Cartagenova, but that is a mouthful. Yes, I added, I have a crown, but that's not, Winter, your costume is so cool. So, for next year, I'm going to have to go buy a costume. I actually don't have any costumes. So for next year, I will plan on it, but it's very awesome.
I do it for the kids for Halloween. And then also I'm in the Chamber of Commerce. So this year I haven't been able to participate since pre-COVID, but this year I'm going to participate with the Halloween hayride. So, I think it's more fun for the children when they see the adults dressed up too.
Oh,
so
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I will have to get one. We decorate our whole house. I actually thought of making a little video. I have like floating candles, I have signs and skulls and things that are spooky because we love all that here. But we're not on a main road, so nobody actually comes to see it except the FedEx and the Amazon delivery drivers. But it makes us happy. So that's why we do it. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I don't really decorate so much. I put out a big plastic pumpkin. I just can't do it. And even my office, I just have a little black cat.
Recording in progress.
Oops, what do I say? There we go. God bless you.
Sorry,
So
I
I
hold
wish
that in.
No, don't hold it in. Let it out, right, ladies? Let it out. Let out your.
I know. Well,
my
you know,
fairy, which
I love that. I love that. So it's on my list. I'm getting one. I'm definitely getting one for next year. So
all right, cool.
put
You'll
it on
get them
your
on
list.
sale.
Yes, exactly. It's perfect. So anyway, so welcome everybody. We're very excited to have you here, you know, costume or not. And happy Halloween. It's, as you can imagine, well, it's definitely my favorite holiday. I don't know about winter, but I love, love, love Halloween, and happy to have everyone here. Should we launch right into it, Winter, and talk about all the different ways, you know, about divination and ways you yourself can sort of work with spirit, as opposed to, you know, just using your body, excuse me, psychic mediumship. We're talking about like actual tools. So one of the first things, the toys, you know, I think of them as tools, but they can be toys also, you know. There's a million different things you can use, first of all. And what I like to tell my clients is they're not magic, you know, there's not really magic associated with any of these things. Even like, you know, the card that we're going to pull later, you know, I have the Kyle Gray's Keeper of the Light deck here that I like to use. You know, it's not magic. It's not, you know, the paper is not imbued with magical powers, as, you know, I think that's sort of a common misconception, and some people do think things like that. But it's more about us tuning into our intuition and using these tools as a way to sort of bring out the messages that we ourselves are actually receiving. So to that end, I'm sure people have seen pendulums before. It might be a little hard to see in my window there, but basically, you know, you could use anything. You could use a piece of string and a paper clip. It does not have to be. This happens to be a beautiful fluorite one that I love and I personally use when I'm working. But it does not have to be anything fancy. Again, it can be a rock, it could be a paper clip, it could be anything that's dangling from a string. And so what I like to do, and sort of everybody uses the pendulum in different ways. Winter and I were talking earlier about using it in, you know, finding animals, or, you know, finding things and putting it over a map. Personally, I don't use it that way. I have a sort of a different way when I'm working with my missing animals. But I do use the pendulum for like yes and no questions. So if you wanted to use a pendulum or start using it, then, you know, what I would do and sort of how I get ready is you can meditate or sort of get into that centered place. You know, you probably don't want to use it when you're running through the grocery store and trying to figure out, do I want to buy this cheese? No, probably not that. But it's more about yes or no questions, like, you know, should I go on this vacation? Is Denver a good place for me to move? Something like that. And again, you know, you want to use your own strength, your own intuition. So this is not like the end all be all. If it gives you an answer you don't like, or it doesn't sit right with you, that's okay. You know, you don't have to say, well, the pendulum said I better move to Denver. So no, it doesn't have to be like that. But again, getting back to the use of it, when I'm using it, I sort of meditate or get into a centered space. So I feel sort of, and sort of drop down into my body and feel more connected with myself. And then I just personally, this is a really beautiful one. I don't know if you can see, but it's Mother Mary is on here. It's it's, you know, the Father, Son, and Mother Mary here is on this piece of the pendulum. So I just hold it, and then I just sort of run down it a little bit just to energize it a little bit, I guess you could say. You don't have to do this. I'm just sort of explaining the way that I do it. And then I sort of get to the place where I feel like, okay, I've sort of got the question in mind, whatever it is I'm thinking that I want to ask it. You know, should I have, you know, spaghetti tonight? No, it's not that. But usually it's more, you know, more important questions, obviously, you would ask. I'm just joking since it's the Halloween edition and we want to have a little fun. So you just sort of rub the pendulum a little bit, get into your centered place. And then what I do is when I feel like it's sort of centered and energized with my personal energy, I don't know if you can see, I just sort of put my hand under it. And then I ask the question, like, should I go trick-or-treating? And then in your mind, you decide if up and down is yes, or left and right is yes. You know, there's no one way you have to do it. I decided that up and down is yes, and then left and right would be no. So apparently I should definitely go trick-or-treating. I would love to go trick-or-treating. If anyone wants to go with me, let me know. But that's sort of the basics. And I keep my hand under it just to sort of keep that link of energy, because my hand is up here, my other hand is here. And then you run your hand down it sort of to imbue that energy, hold your crystal or whatever you have on the end, and then keep your hand under it and ask your question. And that's just one way of a multitude of ways that we can connect with spirit by using different tools. And a pendulum is a really easy way. Like I said, you can make one. You don't even have to buy one. And it's a very easy way to get easy yes or no answers. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. You can put it in the chat. If you're on Facebook, you can certainly put it on Facebook.
I do want to jump in and contribute a little bit. So pendulums, first of all, if you do make one, you've got to make sure it's balanced. And it would be better if the object at the end of the pendulum is a little bit weighted versus the string. So I would suggest, because if you were to purchase one that's off balance, you'll notice it doesn't work as well. Some of the cheap ones coming in from China, for example. So be aware. The second thing, as with all things, keep a grounded approach and steady mind with this stuff. Exactly. I prefer to use the pendulum to tune in, like Mari's been doing, to tune into my higher self. I never really wanted to use it to try to communicate with the other side. Okay. Yeah. Just tune in with your higher self and or guides, your party, and for advice seeking. Now, be aware that you have your own kinetic energy, so you can move things with your mind, and you could be the one moving the pendulum, and as opposed to your higher self. All right. I had a friend, and he was a metaphysical student, he thought he knew it all. And he would get the pendulum swinging like it was no tomorrow. He knew he was getting a rocket science, $500,000 house building contract, which of course did not come through. He was unconsciously moving the pendulum himself. Okay, that can happen. So do not sell your stock portfolio if you use the pendulum. Fun things to use the pendulum for. If you happen to be developing your abilities and you get a foresight, something's going to happen. There's going to be a rainstorm tomorrow and the weatherman's predicting sun. Ask the pendulum, yes or no. And as validation, and then wait till the next day and see if you were correct. When you are tuning up your pendulum, as Mari showed you, clear it from any energy from another person who may have used it or put it together, and establish. Not everybody. I happen to be like Mari. See, we're so alike. I get yes up and down, no side by side. Some people get clockwise for yes, counterclockwise for no. Some people get up and down and clockwise as their yes and no. So everyone is different. Play around with your toy, your tool, and establish how it's going to work for you. It all has to do with your energy. And again, please use it for tuning into your higher self, as opposed to trying to connect with the other side. If you receive a message from the other side and want to look to your pendulum for validation, did I actually connect with, take it. But again, always have a little bit of doubt in you that you, or not doubt, but awareness, that's a better way to phrase this, that you can influence the pendulum. So it's not a fail-safe method, unlike the contractor who thought he was getting a $500,000 contract to build a house for someone. So I just caution you on that, but it is helpful. When I started out developing, I used a pendulum. And then I realized I can't use it while driving the car. And I didn't have GPS at the time. So I was, do I have to turn here? Do I have to turn here? So I decided I would use my body as a pendulum. And I would ask the question, and the answer would be, if it were yes, it would go up. The energy, I would feel a brush of energy going up me. If it was no, I'd feel like a heaviness pulling me down. So I moved from using a separate device or an extension of me to my body as a pendulum. And you guys can do that too. Just fun exercises to try to tune up your own intuition.
Exactly. No, that's an awesome exercise, Winter. I would say definitely try that. I was sort of reaching out in my explanation for people that have never used it before. So if you've never used a pendulum, you might want to start with just using this and then move on to Winter's exercise, because I think if you're not really aware of how your energy runs, that might be a little bit more of a challenge. So that might be more of an advanced exercise once you feel like you've mastered the actual pendulum. I don't know, mastered. Has any of us really mastered anything? But just in terms
I
of
started with them, but then I said, I have a question, but I'm driving the car, and I wasn't going to.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So that's when I said, I'll go up and down with my own body.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's absolutely great. I know probably people that haven't really worked with this before might be like, well, how does that work, and how do I move my own energy and things like that? So if you're really just starting out, start out with the tools, and that's really what they're meant for. Even like with the cards that I was talking about. The cards are also almost like, I wouldn't say beginners, because I still use them too. But if you're new at working with your energies and new at working, with spirit and intuition, tools like these are a really good place to start, because then it's not all on you. You're not trying to interpret just yourself. You can shuffle the cards, and that can help you sort of come up with an answer. And so that's what I was talking about in terms of actually using the pendulum. It's a great tool. It's not that expensive. And, I think it's awesome to use. Now, do you have another tool over there, Miss Winter? I see you holding something.
Oh, no, you were talking about the cards. So I just held up one of my favorite cards. I was a little spooked out by tarot cards, I'll be honest. The original tarot deck, they're kind of like freaky looking pictures, right?
Yeah.
But then, of course, I've taken classes, and I actually just took a neat class. The Jungian Center in Ireland offered Jungian psychology utilizes the tarot. And it was very clever the way they perceive the tarot as like a quest that starts out with an inspiration from your higher self to achieve something. And then the processes you go through. So know that some of this, like tarot, I'm sure I'm not the only person who entered into the metaphysical realm unaware and without experience and was spooked out by those tarot cards, right?
Yeah, of course, because if you're pulling a card and it's like death, you're like, oh no, today's not a good day. So, of course, and that's why I don't use the traditional tarot cards either. I use more of the oracle cards. But honestly, you can use anything. You could use a deck of cards, because it's not so much about what the cards say, it's about your feeling about what's going on with the card. So if you even had a pack of playing cards, you could certainly use that as well, because as you're dealing them out and sort of feeling the energy of the cards, that's going to also lead you in a certain direction. And that's where my spiel of how none of these tools are magical that's what it's really about, because it's not specifically about the pendulum or the oracle cards or the tarot. It's about your interpretation of the energy of what's going on with those. But certainly the traditional tarot cards can definitely be kind of scary, and nobody wants to be reading, the Hangman. Yay, great card for me. But that's, in order to read those cards, to really get the true meaning of them, you have to sort of study the tarot specifically for those, because, whether it's inverted or right side up or what it's next to, and there's different spreads and those type of things. So I think if you're just starting out, the
What was
oracle
interesting?
cards.
Yeah, the oracle cards, I love those.
Yeah.
But the tarot, I'm not that scared about them after taking the Jungian class.
Yeah, of course.
But I'll be honest, my friend bought a tarot deck. This is years ago. And he says, well, why don't you try it? Because I was studying to be a medium. So I was like, oh, I don't use tarot cards, right? Because they're frowned on in my former spiritual church. And
Mm.
the first card I got was the Tower of London. And all of a sudden, I just saw a tower on fire. I don't know what it was. And I was leaving 2 days later. I went to London to go to the Arthur Findlay College. And that's when those towers with all the people stuck in the high floors.
Oh, 9/11?
No, no, no. In London, there was a big
Oh, okay.
fire and they couldn't get them evacuated. It was awful. So, and it happened like the day before I went. And it was the day after I picked that card. So that freaked me out. I said, oh, I don't want to know about that. But then I discovered things like the fairy cards. Do you guys see I have a connection with fairies? And they have pretty pictures.
Right. And nothing scary and nothing scary. So, it's the work we do isn't really, I know Hollywood makes it look all scary and spooky and the ghost, that's haunting your house, but it's really not about that, honestly. And Winter and I both working with the other side, it's really just about love. When you cross over on the other side, there's no resentment, or they're not still mad at you because, you owe them $20. It's not about that. They might bring that up in a reading because to sort of let you know that that's who you have and that's who you're connecting with, but they're not, they're not focused on that. They're just about light and love, and they're just in spirit. Spirit is eternal. So it's not about the scary things. Hollywood does that, so they can make money and they can make it exciting. But the other side is really not about that. And we wanted to come on today and talk about the different tools that you can use in order to sort of make those connections. So I don't know if anybody has any questions here. I'm sort of scrolling through the
Mari,
feed. Yes.
sweetheart, I have a friend who signed in from Scotland, and he's not asking
Cool.
for one, but I know he would probably greatly appreciate. And I'd like you to do a reading for him because I know we're friends. His name is David Anderson, and he's from Scotland, and he's watching us on the Facebook feed. So,
Awesome.
could you give him and I do see some other of you will be doing more, but Dave signed in. He didn't ask, and I know he would probably appreciate a reading. So
Sure. Well, why don't we get through? We're talking about different tools. So why don't we finish going through the tools that we're talking about? And then towards the end of the show, we can get to the readings, because I have, I'm looking at my Facebook page. There's a bunch of people on here, and I'm sure some people would love readings. So I know, Winter, you were going to talk about the planchette or the Ouija board and sort of the origin of that, because I know, I mean, I don't use that myself. Some people I know like to use it, or people see it as spooky or bad luck or scary. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, and then we can get to the readings. I would love to do that.
so I don't own a Ouija board and I haven't used one, but actually what it is, it just kind of comes off from something called the planchette, which I have used. In the beginning of modern spiritualism, which was around 1848, there were two young girls, the Fox sisters, in Hydesville, New York, and there was a spirit that was haunting the house. I say haunting because communication hadn't really evolved yet. Now, I understand that we have been communicating with the other side for millennia. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what's considered the birth of modern spiritualism, this was the situation. And the Fox sisters were two young girls, Marguerite and Catherine, I believe. And they lived in a cottage that was rented with their parents. And they heard some what's called knocking or rapping. See, I'm doing it with my knuckles here. And that was the haunting. But the Fox sisters, being young, curious, and open-minded, they decided to try to communicate with the spirit. They called him Mr. I forgot his name, Cleftfoot or Bigfoot. And please forgive me for the founders of spiritualism for forgetting that, but menopause. So with their mother, they developed a way to communicate with this spirit using the knocking, which is a form of physical phenomena. And one knock would be A, two knocks would be B. And they started out by asking, are you a spirit? And it was knocking in, multiple knocks. They said one knock for no, two knocks for yes. Did you die here? And it knocked twice. And then they developed using the knocking for letters of the alphabet. So A was one knock, but you can imagine in order to get to the letter M, they had to go through 16 knocks. The spirit, and they did the yes and no questions like you use for the planchette, of course, as well. He was able to communicate that his name was Charles Rasna. He was a traveling salesman. He'd been murdered there. He explained how he was murdered by the previous tenants of the home over a purchase, and his body was buried in the cellar, which was a dirt cellar, because we're going back to 1848.
Mm-hmm.
And they dug up and found the skeleton. So this was a true spirit who was communicating, all right, because technically ghosts are just recordings of energy from prior disturbances. So but this individual, this spirit, was able to communicate with these young girls and their mother. But again, if you wanted to spell out words, you're sitting there forever waiting for the number of knocks to get to each letter. So somebody decided to write the letters ABC. If you ever see a Ouija board, you'll see every single letter. Then there's a yes in one corner, a no in another. And I think there's a hello and a goodbye, because again, I haven't used them. And then the planchette, you put your hand there and you allow the spirit to guide you. Okay, so it moves much quicker, and they can move very quick. They can take control and really move you around. Honestly, it could also be your subconscious moving that around, and you're going into a bit of what's known as an altered state. So what happens is, I wouldn't recommend it. Like Milton Bradley still sells them. I would not recommend teenagers trying to do this without a educated parent or adult with them. Okay, because teenagers can create their own little I forget the term, but they've got they're highly emotional beings, and they exude all these little energy poltergeists. Just even normal teenagers, because of their hormonal changes. So it's like, they wanted to go in the vacant Kings Park Psychiatric Hospital by me that used to do all these horrible things to mental patients. I'm like, yeah, no, don't do that. You can't go in there. You don't, no, it's not a good idea. Can a educated, grounded paranormal investigator go in? Sure, because they know what they're dealing with. So that's really what the Ouija board is. It's just a takeoff of the planchette, and it enables the communication using the letters instead of 4 knocks for a D. All right. Now, on an aside, and I'm going to pass the ball to Mari, my very dear friend Helen, who was like a mom to me, passed away October 10th. And the next morning, while I was at home. I mean, I took care of her. I was a healthcare agent. She was really like a mom. I heard three knocks and I looked around. Nobody else was home, just me and the animals. It wasn't the animals like scratching or anything. And a few minutes later, I heard another three knocks. And we had a thing one night when Helen was over years ago. We were waiting for the fireworks to start, and we thought our friend Father um, Charles was going to try to get a ride up and join us. And we heard three knocks out of nowhere. And it wasn't him. There was no one around. And then about 10 minutes later, I heard another three knocks. So I got three sets of three knocks. So I knew that was my friend Helen letting me just kind of saying hello. So your loved ones too can use that knocking and such. Okay, I'm going to pass.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and Helen is such a beautiful soul, and I know that everybody speak for everybody here and say that, we're so sorry for that loss. I know it's been really, really difficult so if everyone could keep Winter and Helen in your prayers, we would appreciate it because
My
she was amazing.
my
Yeah.
daughters too. She was their
Yeah.
grandmother.
Yeah. So we know it's been really, really difficult, but she's a beautiful soul, strong, strong spirit for sure. So, but thank you for that information about the Ouija board. It was very cool and informative. And I know people want to get to readings because they're already sending me pictures. But if anybody has questions, we're happy to take those as well. But a couple of other things I wanted to touch on just briefly in terms of tools that you can use to sort of connect to your higher self, connect to your intuitive wisdom. And I didn't do the best job because it was kind of last minute, but we were going to talk about like tea leaf readings. And I have this cute little mug. Isn't that adorable? There's an artist that's I'm not even sure where she's from, but near in New England-ish area, and makes beautiful ceramic things. So in any event, for tea leaf readings, Winter and I were talking a little bit about this. You would brew your tea from loose leaves, and you would finish drinking your tea, and then you would dump it out on the saucer, and then dump that back into the cup. And then you'd sort of see, what patterns they make, if there's any pictures in here. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about what they see. I'm certainly no expert. I don't really do a lot of tea leaf readings, but like I mentioned earlier, you can use anything to do readings and connect with that intuitive piece yourself. For me, I'm really seeing a face in here, and it really feels almost like it almost feels like somebody from the past coming through and sort of connecting. Now, we don't need to go into all the details. If I was doing a more complete reading, I would sort of go into that. But, there are sort of, I guess, standard images that people see in tea leaf readings. If I was doing it myself, I would just base it on my own intuitive skills and what I see. But that's sort of the gist and the general. Do you see the face in here? I'm sort of seeing a face.
I don't see the face, but what I see is a gentleman hunching over a desk like he's doing some type of bookwork or writing. So the man to me appears as if he would have been learned and he did a good amount of writing. That's what I see.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's interesting because that
different things.
Yeah, exactly. But sort of as you're saying that, because I was seeing a face and I didn't want to go into the whole spiel, but I sort of feel like it's someone, one of my loved ones coming through. So that would be accurate. But just something you want to try at home or you want to try with your friends, if you got some loose leaf tea in a cup and some water, you can do it and work on the tea leaf reading. So it is kind of cool to do something like that. And something else
you can
go
also
ahead. No, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, no, I just wanted to bring up another thing. So I want to make sure I'm mindful about time. You can also do readings with flowers. So I have, my little rose here, and I know people might be like, what are you talking about? So, a lot of times if I'm doing a group reading, I might have a vase of flowers and I might ask everybody to pick one out. And then I sort of go through and it's just really connecting with energy. Again, as beautiful as this flower is, it's not magical, but you can sort of connect with the essence of the flower as you're working with it. And, if I'm doing a reading for a group, I'll have many different types of flowers. And so people sort of gravitate towards that flower. And maybe the flower you pick, hasn't opened yet. It's more in a bud, or maybe it's sort of on the way out a little bit. It might be, the leaves might be a little curled. So it's sort of using that intuitive sense of yourself and working with objects that are around you. And so you can absolutely do it with flowers as well. That's something that I do sometimes. It's just something like kind of fun and cool to bring into your different readings and ways to connect to things. Winter, I didn't want to cut you off, but I think there's a couple questions in the chat also.
There is. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll take Anne's question, which is, I was wondering if we can ask questions about pets only or living people also. I'm assuming she's referring to the using of the pendulum, or actually you could also ask questions, as long as you set the intention to ask your higher self or your spirit team, you can ask questions about both. Now, when you're asking about the living people, don't become a stalker, or what they call as a voyeur. But by all means, if it's your kid or you're concerned about someone, you can ask questions, or if they're lost, for psychic detection work, some psychic detectives do use the pendulum on a map, whether they're searching for a lost item, a lost pet, or a lost person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and just to clarify, and I'm not sure what Anne was asking in terms of the question, but for our readings today, you can certainly ask questions about pets, whether they're here or they're crossed, about people that have crossed over, intuitive questions. So I think, Winter, we're open to sort of all the questions for the readings, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what, sweetheart, you did mention that you were looking to do pet readings in the
Yeah, I don't need to.
So maybe they thought you only wanted to do pet readings. No, Mari does mediumship with dead people too.
Yes, I do. But people are always asking for my pet readings, and I've already received a couple animal pictures. So, I wanted to put that out there. So,
okay,
Anne, I hope that answers your question.
Kim's question as you start to focus on one of the animals you're going to work with. How's that?
Sure, that sounds good. I know I wasn't sure if we covered all the topics that we were talking about in terms of intuitive tools that we can use. But I know
somebody once said you could use a can of peas.
Oh, honestly, that's cool.
You can use a crystal ball for gazing. You can, my friend Philip Wyatt, he is the founder of Georgia Paranormal, if you want to look him up. He does a lot of smoke and steam or water gazing, and the spirits actually come through. You can see images of them. He gets pictures of them, and there's been shows up at Lilydale, art shows of his pictures when he's caught the spirits coming through, materializing like in the smoke or the steam, if you don't smoke, or the water, if he uses water for the medium, allowing the spirits to come up. So there's a variety. The oracle cards or the tarot cards, they're crazy accurate, and they tie in to your subconscious. And as the Jungians point out, the universal greater consciousness is in the stories behind them. So you may not be cognizant of that, but your higher self is. Now, Kim Brush just asked if you get ready to do one of your pet readings.
I'm ready.
All right. Let me just real quick.
Yeah, no, I saw her question about the tea leaves. Yeah.
Do you have to set the intention that you're looking for a connection when using tea leaves? Well, tea leaves is more of a psychic tool, or it might be to show you that somebody is coming through. I'll take a step back. So you don't need to set the intention. Actually, just be open-minded and allow spirit, just say, your intention is to be open-minded, stepping back and allowing your higher self and spirit to control.
Yes, exactly. And I had a couple of comments here on my Facebook page as well. Debbie Duncan. Hi, Debbie. She's amazing. But she was talking also about doing wax scrying, which is very cool. You know, must be dripping wax on paper. And personally, myself, I've done like to do water scrying, which is sounds, that was awesome what you were talking about, Winter, with the smoke and the mist. I haven't seen that. I would love to see that. But you can even do with just a bowl of water. I've worked with people where you can just literally take a bowl of water and just sort of feel the energy, because again, it's your own intuition and sort of the collective consciousness that is coming out of the bowl of water, and sort of seeing what you can see in there and what you can feel. And it's the same thing with they call pyromancy or fire scrying, and you can do that with a candle. You can, a lot of times people light a candle, darken the room, sort of have a soft gaze at the flame, and just sort of see what you can see in there and what you feel, and what you feel is coming through. So that is another way that we can sort of connect with our, intuitive self, with our loved ones, with any messages from our guides or angels, and, with, again, like Winter was talking about, the collective consciousness sort of in the earth. So hopefully that is helpful to you guys, and that we've given you lots and lots of tools. And I'm sure there's even more that we haven't covered, but for the Halloween show, we wanted to cover a lot of these things so that you could use them for yourself, and see what type of messages you can get. So hopefully that is helpful. Now, I got a wonderful picture from Tracy Barrios with her beautiful boy, Smokey. I have to show you this picture. You see Smokey, he's wearing his little witch's hat. We love him. And like Winter said, I do people as well, intuitive readings, past life readings, soul readings. I do the whole shebang. But I always bring up animals because I constantly get people messaging me, oh, can you do my animal? Do you have an appointment for an animal? I have an animal. So I feel like I want to offer that when I'm on here. But absolutely, if you have a question for people readings, I can totally do that. And I would love to do that. But Tracy asked for a reading on her beautiful Smokey, who I love. I have not met him, but I just love the picture. Awesome. It's interesting, Tracy, and I hope you're still watching because this is through my Facebook page, but Smokey is, I know that Smokey is very intelligent and very smart and like the leader of the pack, and but there's also like mischievousness in him. That's what he's talking to me about. He's like, yeah, like I know I'm kind of the boss, and like I know, because it's interesting because a lot of times when I connect with animals, the really wise ones kind of come in, like the Buddha or Yoda, and they have this very, I don't want to say heavy energy, but they have this energy that's just very deep and kind of immutable. And I am getting that certainly with Smokey, but there's also that mischievousness coming through with him, talking to me about like, yeah, like I know I'm kind of cool, and like I know I like to get my own way, and also like playing tricks. There's some piece about Smokey playing tricks, whether he's hiding things on you or he's playing hide and go seek. There's some piece about hiding he keeps talking to me about. I don't know, there's some piece about him with a tooth, because he's talking to me about a tooth that was either cracked or got worked on, something about a tooth that he's talking to me about. So if you haven't found that out yet, maybe have a look and sort of take a look-see about his dental health and take a look at that. Oh, Tracy, there you are. So yeah, maybe you can validate what I'm saying here. But Smokey is talking to me about a tooth, some piece about that. I don't know if it was extracted or cracked or some piece about that. But I love his sort of mischievous behavior, and I love there's something about like devil may care with him. So he is the smart one, the leader of the pack, but he also kind of knows it, he's also like, yeah, I know, like I already know I'm all that. And so he likes to be a leader, but he also likes to be noticed and sort of to be in front and to take, center stage and to be in front of the camera and all of that. So I don't know if you had a particular question about him, but I love him and I love his energy. Okay, his teeth were checked not long ago. Okay, he's saying that his nephew Phoenix broke a tooth. That's interesting. Well, because he's talking to me about that. So I don't know if that was like a concern of his, or he was worried about Phoenix with the broken tooth, because he just showed me a picture of like a broken tooth. So maybe that's something you want to talk to him about in terms of like, okay, we checked your teeth and they're okay. But I would sort of keep an eye on that because he is concerned about that broken tooth piece. So, but I do love his energy, and I love how he's very much wanting to be sort of center stage, I guess, is what, you know, he likes to be. He likes to be in front of it all. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you for sharing this beautiful picture of him in the hat. He has better costumes than I do. Like, what is up with that? But thank you for sharing that picture with all of us, and love and blessings.
Okay. So Teresa de Bonus has asked for a reading, so I'm going to just give her a quick message. So what I'm hearing from Spirit, and when I say Spirit, I felt it was general, but then I started to tune into, I believe, what is a grandmother, and she would be in the maternal line. She could be a great aunt, though. So the two sisters stayed together, grandma and her sister. They were always together, always talking on the phone, and they're in spirit together. So they kind of come in together. And I do feel they come in because the family line, everybody's a warrior going from you all the way up and back. And you're quite concerned about a situation within the family at the moment. However, they come through to let you know that it's a waste of time and you're going to get yourself more wrinkles by worrying about it, because it's going to work out. It has to do with one generation below you. And I do feel that your grandmother and her sister would both be very demonstrative in their mannerisms. And I feel like they're saying, for God's sake, Teresa, you got enough on your plate to be worrying about this nonsense. It's going to work out the way it works out. So just turn your attention and focus on the holidays, because you do have a tendency to be a very loving individual who worries about everybody's happiness and then forgets her own, if that makes any sense. And these two ladies come in and they want you to start redirecting your focus, because as they point out, it's a waste of time, the worrying. Just say a prayer, let it go. You like to pray to the Mother Mary, or I'm so sorry, I'm not Roman Catholic. I don't know the saints. It could be Saint Therese, but it's another female religious icon of that religion. So it's Mother Mary and another female, and you like to ask for their intervention for your family. And they're saying, just do that, let it go, and then focus on the festivities and the holiday. So I'm not sure if you're still with us, sweetheart, but that's what I am getting for you. Okay. God bless.
Wonderful, Winter. I love that. I was just trying to scroll through the comments here to make sure. I know it, I want to say we're not missing anybody. I know we always end up missing somebody because there's only limited time, but I saw a question.
Could you do Dave from Scotland?
I could.
Because he doesn't ask. That's the problem. He wouldn't ask. And I know he could, I don't want to, I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I know that he would be very grateful. But he won't ask. He's always trying to be of service.
Okay, Dave, well, you got to ask, Dave. I don't know if you're watching, but you got to ask. You got to advocate for yourself, people. It's very important. I feel like I'm always telling somebody this throughout my regular life, but you got to advocate for yourself. But I will absolutely do one. But I got a couple questions in my Facebook, and I see Jill on here said she would like a message. So I was going to pull a couple cards for you, Jill. Because that's what I was led to. Interesting. You know, Jill, as I'm sort of connecting to your energy, I'm feeling very much like, I don't know if there's one person or people. It almost feels like there's people in your life that you've been either having difficulty with, or maybe they're not treating you the way that you really need to be treated. And also, it also feels like that you might have a difficult time speaking up about this, because I'm really feeling like there's a little bit of disharmony going on in your life. And like, I'm almost feeling like pain in my heart. And again, I don't know if they're like being mean to you, or not including you, or sort of putting you down, but like in a nice way. I'm not seeing like open aggression, but it almost feels like backhanded compliments, or not including you in outings, or things like that. It just feels like being left out. And so what I'm really feeling for you is like really needing harmony in your own life, and really needing to be able, being able to stand up for yourself. Like, it's no mistake that I launched into my spiel about standing up for yourself and how it's difficult for a lot of people. And I totally get that. It's hard, sometimes it's hard for me, believe it or not, but depending upon the situation. But what I'm really feeling for you is that it's really important now for you to put yourself first. And I'm not saying that like you ditch everybody in your life, or, you have a completely new circle of friends. But I think you know who I'm talking about in terms of people that are not treating you very well. And it's been going on for a long time. And it almost feels like, whether it's a group of girlfriends or people in your family, I feel like it's like a group of a number of people. And they're just not treating you the way that you should be. And, to be honest, you don't need people like that. Like, why would you, you might say, well, they're my family, or I've known them for a long time, or, whatever it is. But if people are not treating you with kindness and with love, and making you feel like you matter and that you're important, then it's just really not worth it. Again, I don't make decisions for anybody, so I'm not telling you to do that. But what the message that I'm getting for you super strongly is, it's really important for you to advocate for yourself, and for you to surround yourself with people who make you feel good. And I feel like there's this group of people that have been making you feel not good for a while. It feels like a protracted while. So I would really encourage you to maybe limit your contact with them, or, if you feel up to it, just to be like, hey, this really isn't working for me right now, and I might need to pursue other things, if you feel comfortable doing that. But what I would recommend is really taking care of yourself, and not spending time with people who are not taking care of you. And I hope that's helpful. So that was important, I think, for you to hear. So I hope that's a helpful message for you.
Very nice.
I don't know if she's still here. Okay, great. Yeah, she says, thank you. Very accurate. You are very welcome. And so, Winter, you asked me to do a reading for your friend. What is his name? Because I don't see him on any of my feeds. And so just tell me what his name is, so I can write it down.
He's on mine, and he is still here. He's from Scotland.
Okay. And
5
his
hours,
name?
6 hours. David Anderson.
David Anderson. Okay.
Yay!
Right. Interesting. Okay. I'm getting a couple things for you, David. I have a grandmother in spirit for you. It's interesting. She's small but feisty, I feel like. I feel like she's coming through, and this is somebody that I'm not sure if you knew her, even like maybe when you were little, or if you knew her as she got older, but I'm feeling like the connection that you had with her wasn't necessarily like you knew her for a certain amount of time. But she's a very strong woman, and I feel her very strongly on my left side for you. So that's really telling me that she's somebody that, it almost feels like she's on the maternal side for you. It might be like your mom's mom, or this could be like a great great grandmother. But what I'm getting from her is really, it's interesting, because it's a similar message to the first one, not exactly, but the first thing I'm hearing is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It feels very much like she's saying, look, come on, you can do this. And again, it almost feels like, I don't know if you're working on like a project, or you're trying to push something through, whether it's like a book or a new project, or something that's going to be new in your life, like it almost, or like a paper. I see like a lot of writing connected to you as well. And she's saying, look, this is something that you can do, because it almost feels like this is something you've been working on, and whether it's been put away in a drawer, or it's been kind of pushed onto the side. And it almost feels like there's a piece about like self-esteem, and feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's good, but I don't know, is anyone going to like it? Does anyone even want me? Like that kind of energy. And I am feeling this strong grandmotherly presence. And again, I feel her smaller physically, but she's very strong in person and like very strong in personality. And like, no, like pull yourself up. You can do this and stop putting yourself on the back burner. That's the message that I'm hearing very strongly from her. I hope that resonates with you, but I feel like she's very like, it's almost like she's cracking the whip a little bit. And again, I don't know if she like would have done that in person. I don't mean like hitting somebody, but just being like small but physical, and being like, she would come up to you and be like, come on, you can do this. Like, come on, let's go. There's that type of energy surrounding that. And for whatever project that this is that you're working on, that you yourself, like, you know that it's good, but you're like, I don't know if I can really do this. That's kind of that passive type of energy. And she's like, no, you get on this now and let's get going and let's work on this and push this through, because it feels very positive to her. It feels positive to me, but she's like, no, you need to do this. Let's get going. And there's some piece about a clover she's also talking to me about, like, I don't know if it's a 4-leaf clover, 3-leaf clover, some piece about that as a sign from her, whether it's on some dishes or something in your home or something that you're going to see. There's some piece that's a sign from her that you can be looking for. So I hope that's helpful to you. I don't know. I don't see any feedback because it's not on my end, but let me know. Bless. It's the day of sneezes. What is it with the sneezing? Bless you. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
But let me know, Dave. Let me know what David has to say about that. Hopefully, it was helpful, and
I'm sure it was wonderful. He's here.
Happy to do it. So good.
Thank you.
So good. Awesome. You're very welcome. Yeah, I see people coming in.
Okay, so we have in the Zoom room Anne, and she asked for, yep, Dave gave you some feedback. He said the message is about his mediumship and he's struggling with his doubts, whether he can do it, but I know he's been studying very hard for 4 years. So you nailed it. And I love to see his grandmother coming through. So
yeah, she's feisty. She's like, let's go. She's feisty. So listen to her. Just listen to her.
Yeah, let her just pick you up and bring you. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Thank you. My pleasure.
Anne, you can unmute, and she asks, look who, Jennifer, hello, beautiful. She just came in the room. Anne wants to know about romance, any possible romance coming up. So I'm going to pull a card since it's Use the Tools Day. And this is from the Akashic Tarot. I was moved to use that deck instead of the fairies for Anne. This is a Oracle Tarot card from Sharon Ann Klinger and Sandra Ann Taylor of Lilydale. I want to go here. So the romance, Caught in the Ruins, is the card that I pulled. And this deck works a little bit differently than the traditional tarot. So I'm going to just look up what their meaning is for that. I have my own intuition, but I'd like to see what the card says in the little book. And this card shows a dark or difficult situation that seems to have you trapped. It could be a hurtful, empty relationship, unhappy or sultry job, or a negative self-sabotaging belief system. It has held you captive for some time and may even have begun in a past life. There's a way out. It just takes a little effort and determination on your part. So actually, when I pulled the card, what you'll see is two people that seemingly are locked in a little cell surrounded by a beautiful garden, and it says caught in the ruins. And the ruins, of course, is the past. So what I got the impression in response to your question, I think there's some residual hurt and fear from a past relationship in this lifetime that you kind of give off a little guarded vibe with
Mhm.
potential suitors. Plus, I also feel there's some aspect of you that is pulling in, whether, sometimes we grow our first attractions to the opposite parent, right? And then we look for that in a subsequent mate when we're grown. That's just psychological, which Mari is the social worker here, she a therapist, she knows more about that than me. But I'm getting that from spirit. So I feel like this is an amazing time between two eclipses and it's all about learning about ourselves. These two eclipses that we're presently in between. The second one is coming up Saturday. And so there's something about yourself that is actually blocking you from having this new romance come in. And I don't think he's somebody you know. I think there's somebody new who'll be better for you. But what's blocking him from coming into your reality is an old belief that you need to discard. So I would suggest, honestly, a good reading. I'm not advertising for myself or for Mari on this, but if you, I think you should get a good intuitive higher self reading if you're unsure of what this block is, and release it before the new year, because there's a whole new energy coming in the new year. I actually got a call from my astrologer friend earlier today, and she filled me up with all kinds of tidbits. So, and I think if you do that, it's a go come after the new year to meet somebody new who's going to just whisk you off your feet, but a different kind of man than you're used to. And that's why it's going to work so well. But you need to release some residual hurt. So that's my look.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that. And that was sort of the feeling that I got when I was tuning into that question as well. So I think it's a little time for a little bit of self-work, and before you're able to sort of really open yourself up again. And I agree with everything that Winter said. So I know that we're running a little bit over time here, guys. There's still a few people that are, in the chat and then on here that were looking for readings. I wanted to try to get in a couple more before we sign off. I have Kim Brush, and I don't know if she is still on, but she has sent me a picture of Charlie. There's Charlie. Hi, Charlie. And he is still here. He's still among the living, luckily. And she wanted a reading on him. And so, of course, I was drawn to him because, he's a furry friend. Who doesn't love them? So, Kim, I hope you're still there and you're still listening. But I wanted to give you a little bit of feedback. Is she still there? Okay. Is she still there? Oh, okay, great. Hi. I can't tell because I got it through my messenger. I'm like, is it on the Facebook? Is it on the Zoom? So, hi. Yeah, so thank you for sending the picture of your Charlie. He's very sweet. I don't need to tell you that, but I do definitely feel like there's a little bit of this with him. There's a little anxiety, a little bit of like I'm not really sure about things. And again, I'm not sure if there's been some changes in your house, like people moving in or moving out, or some changes, because he's telling me he's a little nervous about how things are. And again, I don't know if he's been having any type of like potty accidents, things like that, because it just feels like that's something, but it's not going on. And again, I'm not a medical intuitive, so I always recommend everyone go to the vet. I don't diagnose anything, but it feels to me like it's about the anxiety, and it's about like, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to send a message. So that's what he's talking to me about his sort of being unsure and being anxious. And he's showing me the piece about the potty also, just to sort of let you know. And it's not about teaching you a lesson. It's not about anything like that, but he's trying to get your attention. So again, I'm not sure if that resonates with you in terms of whether your attention has been shifted elsewhere, or if you've had other responsibilities. And I'm not saying he's neglected at all, but it just feels like he's telling me he's not getting the attention that he wants, and that there's other things that are going on, more commotion, more drama, there's more activity in the house or in the life that he's really not used to. And it's sort of like upsetting him a little bit. So I'm feeling a little bit of like, I'm not really sure what's happening. Does that make sense to you? Can I unmute you, or can you unmute you?
Yeah, 100%. So
Okay,
we are
there you
doing
are.
a little bit of remodeling in the house, and his
Okay.
anxiety is like through the roof.
Okay, yeah,
So
that
all of
makes
that,
sense.
yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad that I was able to help with that. But so what I would recommend, because he's a good boy. He's like, I'm a good boy, Mom. I'm a good boy. And he's not trying to be bad. I'm not saying any of our animals try to be bad. But again, I always give the example of my cat, who can kind of be a jerk, and he will do things on purpose just to be like, yeah, I did it. And like, what are you going to do about it? But that's not at all, the piece that I'm getting from Charlie. So it's more about like, I'm worried. I want to make sure it's going to be okay. Like, can you tell me it's going to be okay? So if there's any way for you to be able to spend a little bit more time with him, or maybe take him away from the construction and be like, look, I know this is bothering you. And again, I don't know your house, if you're able to move him to a different section that's a little more quiet. He needs like a little reset. He needs like, he needs to feel that. So whether you can play some like classical music, again, take him to another location, spend more time out in the woods, like in a peaceful area. He just needs to know that everything's going to be okay, because I'm sure eventually the construction will end and things will return to normal. So tell him that and say, look, I know this is really stressful. It's stressful for me. And I know he's super sensitive. So any stress you're having, he's going to pick up on it. He's like the sponge, and then he's going to express it. And that could be in the peeing or whatever's going on with that piece. So it's important that you talk to him and explain to him like, okay, look, this is going on now. It's not going to be forever. And then maybe try to reassure him, spend more time, give him, the dog version of chocolate, something to soothe him a little bit, to help calm him down, because he really needs that reassurance right now, because it is freaking him out. So I hope that's helpful. And it's definitely important to sort of validate him, because I'm also feeling with him, it's like he's not really sure of himself sort of in general. So there's this piece about him that he's like, well, I'm really upset, but like, is that okay? Like, is it okay that I'm upset? Like, I'm not understanding where that's coming from, but he has that sort of energy, like, this is bothering me and I'm doing these things, but like, is that okay that it's bothering me? It's almost like he's looking to you for reassurance for his reaction, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All of that is 100% of what I'm
good.
seeing here too.
Good. I'm glad that was helpful. And yeah, feel free to shoot me a message if you have a question on it. But yeah, he needs that support. He needs that support to let him know his feelings are valid, and how he's feeling throughout this whole process is valid, and that it's going to be okay. So he needs that help. So yeah, definitely, keep us posted on how that's all going. And
Thank you so much.
oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. All right, my friend Winter, what time do we have? We're a little over. Is there anybody else? I know there are people that we've missed, and it's hard to get to everybody. We would have to do like a 4-hour show or something, I feel like, between all the people, because I know there's always more need. But is there anybody else in general that you wanted to, that was really calling to you for a reading, Winter? I'm sort of scrolling through here.
Yeah, I could go to Jennifer. Jennifer, you can unblock or unmute.
Okay, I didn't see her question.
Sorry, I was trying. Hello,
I
everyone.
think she direct messaged me.
Oh, okay, that's why.
So Jennifer asks 2 questions. One personal to her: is there new romance coming in the future to meet somebody new? And how do you unblock?
So you were speaking to the other woman about how she has, she's blocking like her blessings in a sense, where there's something that came from the past. And I think I do that too. Like I don't mean to, and I don't know how to fix that. That's kind of
Yeah. So the thing is, most of us do that. And it's easy sitting in the chair Mari and I sit in to see as the clairvoyant. We can see the block, spirit can tell us, but I know I have my own blocks that I don't see. And so I think sometimes getting a reading from a trusted intuitive is a great way to discover. Also, just allowing yourself to be open. This is, as I said, my astrologer called me today before the show. Somebody I have great faith in, and said that this is the eclipses that are uncovering what I'm just going to mute somebody. Uncovering things about yourself that you were unaware of. So, oh, Jennifer, I'm sorry. I muted you by mistake and trying to unmute somebody else. So if you sit quiet, some people like a candle to set the ambiance. Just open yourself to meditate if you know how to run your energy, or just allow the love of God to come over you and fold you, and then sit for a nice quiet meditation. Even if it's a guided meditation, one where your loved one or a teacher in spirit comes to you and you're able to ask a question, that may be a way you can do some self-discovery. Once you find out or you think you're close to what the block may be, I always also advocate for therapy, to speak with somebody like Mari as a therapist, or other social workers. Sometimes they can help you discover childhood issues that you've long forgotten and actually are causing a little bit of problems. It could be past life too. So be aware of that, because you might not have any issues in this life, but still having an issue. So if you go to somebody who does past life work, they may bring something. So those are the various ways. Do an energy healing or a Reiki healing, that Jen, I know you're a Reiki practitioner, so do some healings on yourself. Work on each chakra. Maybe one night you work on the crown and go down, see what comes up after you work on it. So these are different ways to help you or anybody who's listening unblock, and be aware that the cosmos, the universe is really working right now astrologically to help you. Okay, I had a knowingness come to me on the first eclipse. I wasn't even expecting it. In the morning I woke up and they told me something about me, and I'm like, yeah, I know that. So but it is the eclipse of learning. Now, as far as you, sweetheart, I'm really feeling positive with the new year. I also feel like you are still in the old. I know you were looking for a new position. You're one of my students and clients, but I do feel that you didn't locate that yet. And I do feel that that is a necessary ingredient to really lifting everything around you.
Yeah, my daughter, I'm actually here now, but my daughter was just telling me I had like these positions that came up or whatever in interviews, and I didn't get it. And my daughter was telling me, she's intuitive, right? And she was like, you have blocks. Like she was telling me, and she was like very in a trance this night, and she was writing everything down for me. And she was like, it's this, 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 this. It was crazy what she did. She was spot. But I have changed my energy here, and my motivation has came back, thank God, because I was really struggling with that. And I'm having an amazing month, and I've really, really been pushing myself. But like yesterday was like hell on this earth. It's just like it doesn't stop. I'm just kind of learning how to navigate the challenges.
Okay. I have to move us along because of the time with everyone else, but excellent. So that's another way. Well, you went to your daughter who's very intuitive, and you've informed me that she does do a deeper altered state than most. So now you've got a pathway for yourself, but the things I shared could be used by anybody else. I do feel though, happiness is going to be in a new company. Quietly, I'll say that. And I do feel like when you move there, there's going to be a whole new fresh energy in the new year. And I feel like somebody's coming in new. It's just on pause.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
focus on finding a better match for your career. And then the other pieces will fall into place. And then, work on what your daughter told you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. God bless.
Thank you, Winter.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as you were talking, there's pictures and messages coming through, trying to keep up with everything. So, and I know we're running late here, and I know we still want to pull our card for the collective, but there was another person that messaged, Janine, I think you're here, aren't you? And so you had asked me a question about your grandparents and if there were any messages coming through for them. So I'll just do sort of short and sweet. It's interesting because what I'm getting from them is a lot of ways the same messages I was getting for David. It's like I'm getting like, get on with it, like very strong, very, especially from your grandmother. I'm feeling like she's coming in very like, well, like, what you're supposed to be doing. And I don't know if there's a piece about like a job change with you, because she's showing moving from one position to the other, whether it's like another company or like a whole new like type of work situation. But it's very much like, get on with it, because I just feel like, especially with you, and I think with a lot of people right now, not dragging your feet on purpose, but just more like not being sure. Like, I'm just sort of saying like, well, I could go here. Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, I could go here. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. So just sort of not really committing to anything and not moving forward because you're afraid of what the consequences will be. I'm not really sure what that means, but I did specifically hear consequences. So there's some piece that specifically your grandmother is like coming in much stronger than the grandfather and saying like, you can do this, you can move on with this. And again, they're also talking about a relationship. So I don't know if there's some piece about that as well, about moving on from a relationship that you haven't really felt too good about for a while. But she is very forcefully coming in and saying, no, look, these are changes that you need to make. You know yourself that you need to make them, and that you haven't really, I don't want to say that you haven't found the strength, because you're a very strong person, but it's the indecision. It's the like, well, I could, and I don't know, and I'm not sure. So it's like, I just feel like that is clouding all of the judgment. And that's the messages that I'm getting, through for her. And I do feel also like that she's sending you messages. Like, I feel like she's sort of walking beside you a lot of times. I know you have pictures of her. I know that you have little items from her around the house. There's almost some, I don't want to say it like, it almost looks like a knitting needle. I'm seeing something long, like that is somehow connected to her, whether it's like a hat pin or a knitting needle, some piece about that that's connected to her that I'm seeing in your house that you see almost on a daily basis that reminds you of her. And she is coming through and saying, look, I'm with you. And she's trying to like give you a little bit of a shove to move forward and to make these decisions. And, in a strong but loving way. And so I know that we're incredibly over time, but I wanted to at least get you that message. I hope that's helpful to you. And I hope that resonates with you. You can unmute me if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. My grandmother's personality is very strong and intense, so I'm not surprised she's the one that's sort of saying that. And I lost my corporate job in June. And so now I am trying to figure out how to do the Reiki, tap into my own intuition and mediumship. And so, yes, I am frantically applying to corporate jobs that I don't want. And the dream is to do the wellness stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what feels a lot more real to me. And as I'm seeing this, it almost feels like a wand, or there's something long and like beige, neutral color that she keeps showing me. I'm not sure what that is. Again, it almost feels like it could be like a knitting thing, a hat pin, or then I was thinking maybe it's some type of like crystal wand type of thing. There's some piece about that she keeps talking to me about, something that you see in your house in terms of objects that either remind you of her, or was hers at one point that she keeps mentioning to me. So she's just like, your grandfather's there, but she's like, no, 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 I'm going to take care of this. She's kind of like pushing him to the side, like, I'm going to take over. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and this is what you need to do. So, she's encouraging you to do that. And I know that you are strong enough to do that. So keep following that path and listen to your guides. There's some piece about that. About listening to your guides as well. And don't worry so much about your personal indecision. Just try to hear what's coming through for you, because they're going to give you a lot of good advice.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you are very welcome. My pleasure. So Winter, I lost you. You must still be there, right? I lost you on the, oh, there you are.
I am.
On the screen. I know I'm just not so good with the technology, but I know there's so many more people, and other people had messaged other things, but I think we probably need to get going. We're super over time. I know you have your beautiful kitty there.
He started knocking the monitor over, so I figured I'll just grab
He's
him.
like, I need some
Hello,
attention.
everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Got ears like
so
mine.
beautiful. Yeah. He's very handsome. Very handsome. So do we want to pull a card? Do you want me to pull the card, or do you want
Yes,
to pull
please.
the card?
My
Winter?
hands are full. That would be great.
Your hands are, I know, I wish I had him in my hands. He's a gorgeous boy. So, all right, well, I'm going to do a quick shuffle. And again, this is the Kyle Gray, Keeper of the Light Oracle cards. Oops, upside down. That I love. I only use a couple decks. This is one that I use a lot. Let's see, and this is for the collective. If it resonates with you, hold on to it. If not, don't worry, but hold on to it anyway, because it might later. So, okay, we have Holy Amethyst. Beautiful card, purple. Amethyst is about healing. I don't need to tell you during these times how important healing is with everything that's been going on. Our whole collective consciousness needs some healing. Our world needs some healing. But as I'm sort of feeling it for the people that are here and anybody that watches this broadcast, to me, it's really talking about self-healing. We're talking about the world and how messed up it is in so many different ways. But the way that we can work on that is to go from the inside out, is to work on our own healing and to work on what we need to do to help ourselves. I'm not saying selfish, like, I'm just going to spend 24 hours a day on myself and it's all about me, me, me. It's more about what needs to be done and changed within myself in order to then extend that to the world. Because, again, like I said, our collective consciousness needs a lot of help right now and a lot of prayers. But this card to me really talks about working on ourselves, working on what's important to us, like Janine was saying, like she's applying for all these jobs that she doesn't want. It's like, well, there's a message in that right there, It's almost like being force-fed foods you don't want to eat. It's like, obviously you have to make a living and all that, but sort of see what you can do to sort of change that so that you are getting something out of what you're doing. And this card also talks about going after your desires. Don't keep doing the things that make you unhappy, because when we're unhappy, then that just radiates to everything. You're unhappy, you're in a bad mood, you get on the freeway, the person in front of you is a jerk, and oh, why did you cut me? Like, it just radiates ugly. And we know there's way too much of that going on right now. And so it's really important to start with ourselves and to work with what's going to make us happy and us peaceful and us in a good place, and then radiate that outwards and continue to sort of spread that love to the world. And that's, the holy amethyst, the divine alchemy. It's sort of like working with, the alchemy within and what you can do to bring about your desires and the desires to help the earth. So that is the card for this month or this week. I know we won't see you till next month, but sort of process this a little bit for the next week and see how you can get yourself into a better place. Work on focusing on what it is that you want out of the earth, how you can get this, and then sort of radiating that positive light and that positive message out to others. Because we definitely need that right now. So Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you so much for everybody on Spirit Chat and to my wonderful co-host, Winter Brook. And this has been an awesome Halloween episode. And I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody. We will be doing this again next month. I don't know, did we settle on that November 29th date? Probably.
Yes, you and I are good for the 29th, and we will hopefully have a guest. Otherwise, you get the two of us, so that's not a bad bargain, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so after Thanksgiving, we're hoping to get together. And thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day to come and watch and listen. If you're on the streaming or if you're coming to watch the recorded version, we appreciate your enthusiasm and being here, and we do this for you guys. So God bless you all. Have a happy Halloween and a blessed Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. Our pleasure. Happy Halloween and be good to yourself. Bye.
Try those